welcome back to my studio. My name is Elke, and today I'm working on something called Kokedama. Kokedama is actually coming from Japan, and it's also called moss ball. That's kind of the official translation as far as I know. And what it is basically you're taking plants and pack them in a ball of moss with soil inside, so they can be decorated as a ball either on a plate or something, or maybe even hang them with strings off the window. And it's just some kind of an interesting way of using your plants. You can use all kinds of, especially indoor plants, ferns, ivies. I have here the chlorophytum, or also called the spider plant, and a lot of people have them in their house, and they really make a lot of those little babies, the little babies on the side. So very often they just get too big and you have to replant them. So what you do with the Kokedama, which is just a new form of showing them off, is you take some soil, and the best would be some peat moss and maybe some orchid soil or something like that, and because that has a lot of peat moss inside, some wood chips and stuff like that. If you don't have that, then just take some moss, put that inside, because it's important that the soil kind of sticks together as well as holds the moisture, because we don't have a pot, it's all going to be in that ball, and that's where we need to have all the nutrients and all the soil. So what I did is I used some soil, mixed it up, like just my mixing soil, and then I put some water in there to make it nice and moist and a little bit clumpy. See, whoops, it's just a little bit, it feels very muddy, but you will squish it out, the extra. Yeah, and then you make, it's the right consistency when you push it and squish it out, and it kind of stays in a ball shape. So it has to really stay like that, because then you have the right consistency. So I'm going to just do that. My chlorophytum or spider plant is just a little piece of my big plant, so I would like to try it with this one. I know it's going to work. It's a very easy plant too, very forgiving. It's a very good beginner plant. So as you have your soil prepared, the ball is always depending on the size of the plant, obviously. So this one doesn't need much more than a ball size like this. So I'm just going to put that aside, and we'll then move on to the moss part of it. What I did is I used some moss and put it in warm water, which is always a very good way of giving life back into the moss. So we have here, you see, we have here moss. You get moss in craft stores, at the florists, or maybe you're lucky and you have some in your backyard. But it's basically moss that is very flat, sheet moss. It's called sheet moss, and we are going to put that flat on your work surface with the green side down. Which is the great thing in moss is that if it's dry from last year even, you can always bring it back to life by just putting it into nice warm water and then just squish it out. So green side down, you make a nice sheet here, like this. Okay, put that aside. And now we're going to take our ball, put that in the middle of it. Make a nice, open it out, almost split it a bit, and we put our plant right in the middle. Put the soil around it again. And that's when I know if I need a bigger ball or is it enough. It probably could take a little bit more, so I'm just going to squish a little bit more around. And then we fold our moss, nicely squished here, and then we fold our moss nicely up around this soil ball. So, and then you just keep squishing it nicely into shape. There's two different ways. You can really try to make it a perfect round ball, or you keep it a little bit flat on the bottom and and decide you put them maybe into a nice bowl or in a wooden plate or something. I use wire. You can use a wax string, you can use raffia, you can use wool. Wire for me is actually almost the best thing to get it all put together. You know, it's the florist wire, it doesn't rust, and it keeps it all nicely together. You can always get more decorative afterwards when it's done. So I'm poking the end into the soil, so I can actually just go around and give it a nice tuck, you know, so it's nice, the shape, and go around nicely like this. You go over it a little bit, over and under. So it's basically just so all the sheet moss is nicely tucked around it and stays where it should. And don't worry too much about the shape, because after you're done, you can definitely reshape it a little bit. So right now my focus is keeping it all in and together. So the ball is pretty much done. Okay, and one really nice trick, I've mentioned it probably before in one of my other videos, from my dad. If you don't have a plier, you just kind of twist your wire once, make a loop, and don't have it too long after that, and then you give it a nice tuck, and that just breaks it off. Poke the rest back in, and there we have a nice kokedama ball. And as you can see, you can really decide on the size of the ball. Sometimes you maybe just want a smaller one, or you make different sizes, and then decorate them in either a plate, you know, put a nice plate, some candles with it, or you have a nice little board where you can put those ones on, and again some candles or something, some rocks. And it's very easy to take care of these now, because you just touch them. You feel like if they're getting a little bit dry, I go to my sink in the kitchen, and then I just use like lukewarm water and maybe just dip the whole thing into a bowl and let it really soak full, squish it out a little bit, and then put it right back. So just make sure that the tray or the plate or whatever you're using on your furniture is good and is sealed, so you don't have water on your furniture. You can also hang them up and just use either the wire or I have here some string that's kind of a wool string or felt string, all kinds of different, you know, cords or ropes or things like that. And then you just take those ones and go around again and just make yourself a nice little string, and you can hang it either off your window, on a branch or something, and you just get very, very creative. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Give me a good thumbs up, and please sign up for my channel and turn on the notification, because then you will always know when I upload something new. Enjoy, let me know how it worked out for you, and I will see you next time.